Very good morning, everyone. How are you all? Everyone fine? Now, last class we just started in days 37, but we were discussing the meaning of contingencies as per AS4. Am I right? Any doubt in that? I've asked you one question also. Have you got the answer of that? Let me first revise what I have done in the last class. So, contingencies. What is contingencies? Contingencies are the condition or situation existing on balance sheet date. Outcome which may be favorable or unfavorable is not known, and that outcome is dependent on happening or non-happening of uncertain future event, and that future event is not within the control of entity. Correct? So this condition or situation on a particular date, means on balance sheet date, is known as contingencies. Now, this outcome may be either favorable or unfavorable. If favorable, so it will give rise to contingent asset which will not be recognized. If unfavorable and the outflow is probable and the amount can be estimated, then we will recognize provision. And in other cases, we'll disclose the fact as contingent liability. Then we discuss that the expected loss which are arising from past event may be either due to decline in the value of asset, correct, or due to increase in the value of liability. I hope you remember, it may be either due to decline in the value of asset or due to increase in the value of liability. So whenever it will be due to increase in the value of liability, there will be some obligation which will result in outflow of resource means either cash or any other asset. Then we'll apply Ind AS 37, means we used to apply AS 29. Now in our CA final syllabus we'll apply Ind AS 37, correct? So can I say, when we say Ind AS 37, so only we consider obligation means there must be some outflow of resource which will result in liabilities, means provisions are liabilities, all the provisions are liability. So whenever we say provisions are liability. Now the exact meaning till now we have not done, because we have not yet started Ind AS 37, correct? Now any expected loss due to decline in the value of asset, can I say there is no obligation? There is no obligation means there is no outflow of resource. Therefore, it will not result in any liability. It is only an adjustment to asset. It is considered as an adjustment to asset, and such type of loss is known as impairment loss. Means now whenever we say impairment loss, that is also due to contingencies. Whenever we say impairment loss, that is also due to contingencies, but Ind AS 37 is not applicable for such loss. Correct? Means when I say expected loss, so all the expected loss which we are discussing right now, that is due to contingencies only. Now you know the meaning of contingencies. You know the meaning of contingencies, correct? I hope now no doubt about this. Yes. Now we also discussed that there can be various asset inventory. So for inventory we'll apply Ind AS 2. For such type of loss we have a specific standard, either accounting standard or in accounting standard. Then for property, plant and equipment, intangible asset, investment property, we have Ind AS 36 which will be dealing with the impairment loss of such asset. Then we have discussed receivable. About receivable, we used to create provision for doubtful debt. Now one question arises whether provision for doubtful debt is the correct terminology. Of course, now due to introduction of Ind AS 37, we have understood that provisions means liability. However, AS29 also used to say provisions are liability, but in our CA inter classes we used to use this term provision for doubtful debt. But now from last class onward, now we'll not be saying provision for doubtful debt, we'll say expected credit loss. Expected credit loss. I hope that point also you have understood. Correct? So for receivable we used to apply AS4, means we for provision for doubtful debt we used to apply AS4. Now we'll be applying Ind AS 109. Means can I say we have specific Ind AS or AS for the impairment loss or expected loss for the decline in the value of the asset. Correct? You can also write down point number D, investment. Investment, of course investment, but other than investment, properties. Now what is investment properties, what is property, plant and equipment, all the detailed discussion need to be done. Correct? For investment, other than investment property, we used to have AS13. If you remember, AS13, if you remember, we used to value current investment at cost price of fair value, whichever is lower. Long term investment we used to measure at cost price less provision for permanent decline. Correct? Understood? But now we'll apply Ind AS 109. Ind AS 109. Up to this, any doubt? Now, my question. I have asked one question. Provision for depreciation. You remember this? Provision for depreciation will fall in first category or second category. Means provision for depreciation will be considered as decline in the value of asset or increase in the value of liability. That was my question. Are you able to understand what I am saying? Correct. So the provision for depreciation will come in which category? That was my question. Please answer it. One answer I got. Provision for depreciation is an incorrect term, sir, because it is not an expense. It is allocation of cost. Correct term is accumulated depreciation. Array? Very good answer. Excellent answer. This is the excellent answer which I have got. Means I am feeling that you are one of my past student. ऐसा लग रहा है because you have said whatever I used to say in my class. Correct. Very good. So can I say provision for depreciation is not due to contingencies. Means whatever provision for depreciation we used to create, that is due to matching concept, not due to contingencies. Correct now? Correct? Means we do not apply conservatism principle. We do not apply conservatism principle for depreciation. Depreciation is recognized due to matching concept. So can I say when we are discussing contingencies, so while discussing contingencies, there is no point of discussing depreciation. So can I say provision for depreciation is 100% wrong? 100% wrong. Means provision for depreciation will neither fall in this category nor it will fall in this category. Correct? Means depreciation is not decline in the value of asset. Means even though asset is increasing, depreciation need to be charged. Even though value of asset is increasing, depreciation need to be charged due to matching concept. If you remember what you have done in your CPT or CA inter. Correct? CA foundation or CA inter. Are you able to understand what I am saying? So can I say depreciation is only an allocation of cost during the useful life of the asset. Therefore, provision for depreciation is 100% wrong. Means if I say provision for doubtful debt, chalo theek hai. If I say provision for doubtful debt, it is somewhat related to contingencies. But we should not use the term provision, because when we say provision is a liability. Correct? Therefore, we have used another term, expected credit loss. But when we say provision for depreciation, that is not due to contingency. Therefore, this term is absolutely correct. Means once you become CA or in your office right now during articleship, I feel that, means I know that you have never used the term provision for depreciation while preparing the financial statement. You might have used provision for doubtful debt, but you will never use provision for depreciation. You are using another term known as accumulated depreciation. Correct? So from now onward, if somebody asks you about depreciation, never use the term provision for depreciation. We'll use the term accumulated depreciation. So just write down one note. Write down one note. Everyone. Provision for depreciation is not a correct term. Understood? Accumulated depreciation should be used instead of provision for depreciation. Correct? That down. Depreciation is not decline in the value of asset. It is allocation of cost during the useful life of asset due to matching concept. Due to matching concept. Have you understood this? Yes, sir. So now I think that you have understood the difference between provision and contingent liability. You have also understood that provisions are liability and provision for doubtful debt is not a liability. Means I have asked you three questions. So you have understood the difference between provision and contingent liability. My second question was कि provision for doubtful debt is a liability. Of course, it is not a liability. It is only an adjustment to the asset, but it arises due to contingencies. Correct? Yes, sir. My one of the last question was whether contingent liability is a liability. Whether contingent liability is a liability. This point till now I have not explained. Whether contingent liability is a liability. So we need to understand that point also. So now we'll start Ind AS 37. Any doubt till now? Means you'll get the answer about contingent liability when we'll discuss what Ind AS 37. Up to this, any doubt? Any doubt? So can we start Ind AS 37? Yes. Now So we'll start Ind AS 37. I have already said that you received two type of book. One is Ind AS Saransh book. One will be question bank. Correct. So this is the part of Ind AS Saransh book. In this you need to come to page number 53. Correct. Ind AS Saransh book, page number 53. We'll start with Ind AS 37. Yes, sir. Now, provision. Ind AS 37 means provision, contingent liabilities and contingent assets. So what is the meaning of what? Provision as per Ind AS 37 that we are discussing. So what is provisions? Provisions are liability. Provisions are liability. Understood? Means all the provisions are liability. So Ind AS 37 says provisions are liability. So it is now understood that provision for doubtful debt is not covered under Ind AS 37. Therefore, it is not a liability. And therefore, we should not use the term provision for doubtful debt. Hope you are understanding. Correct? Yes, sir. So provisions are liability of uncertain amount or timing. Uncertain amount or timing means either the amount of outflow is not known or the timing of payment is not known. Correct now, or both are not known. Means it is a liability of uncertain amount or uncertain timing or both, or both. Have you understood? Yes, sir. So provisions are liability of uncertain amount. Means right now either we don't know the exact amount of outflow or we know the amount but we don't know when to pay it. When to pay it. Correct? Understood? Or both are not known. Then it will give rise to what? Provisions. So any liability of uncertain amount or uncertain timing will be known as what? Provisions. Correct? Means can I conclude कि provisions all provisions are liabilities, but all liabilities are not a provision, are not provision. So sir, what is the meaning of liability? That we need to understand ki what actually the meaning of liability. So liability, of course, that also you should know ki what is the meaning of liability. So liability means what? Liability means liabilities are present obligation arising from past event. Present obligation arising from past event means one thing is clear that all obligations are not present obligations. So all obligations are not liabilities. So only present obligation arising from past event which will be settled, which will be settled, which will be settled through outflow of resource. Means if I am saying which will be settled, so of course it is a future tense. Correct. Which will be settled through outflow of resource. When I say resource, it means it can be either cash or any other asset, or any other asset. Understood? Correct. So liabilities are present obligation arising from past event, which will be settled through outflow of resource. One thing is clear that all obligations are not present obligation. So sir, what is the meaning of present obligation? That we need to understand. Sir, what is the meaning of present obligation? Means till you understand the meaning of present obligation, you don't know the meaning of liabilities. Correct? Correct. So can I say provisions? Can I say in this way, provisions are present obligation arising from past event which will be settled through outflow of resource, but these are of what? Uncertain amount or timing. Uncertain amount or timing. Correct. So what is the meaning of present obligation? What is the meaning of present obligation? What they said, a past event is deemed to give rise to present obligation if it is probable. Means any obligation which are probable any obligation which are probable on balance sheet date, it means they are present obligation. Probable means what? The chances are more than 50%. Chances are more than 50%. So any past event which is deemed to give rise to a present, any past event deemed to give rise to a present obligation, if it is probable, means chances are more than 50%. Chances are more than 50%. Means we call it, it is more likely than, not. Means the chances of occurrence is more than chances of non-occurrence. Correct? Are you getting? So when I say probable, means what? Probable means chances of occurrence. Chances of occurrence of loss, correct, is more than chances of non-occurrence. Non-occurrence, correct. So it become probable. So whenever chances of occurrence is more than chances of non-occurrence, it is more likely than not. Then the event will be deemed to give rise to what? Present obligation, and then it will become a liabilities. Correct? Understood? Means, can I say, when I say present obligation, it can be, the chances can be either equal to 100%, means the chances is 100% certain, then also it is a present obligation. Correct? Understood? Or it can be what? It can be more than 50%, both situation it is present obligation. Means in case of liability which are 100% certain, they are liability, means they may not be provision but they are liabilities. So uncertainties will come when the chances are not 100% certain, correct? Yes sir. Have you understood this point? So a liability may be due to what? 100% certainty about payment and about timing. Correct? Now, we have used the term arising from past event. Of course, can I say we have understood that contingencies will arise due to past event. So any future event should not be considered. Means any obligation due to future event should not be considered. Correct? So any obligation on balance sheet date, So we are discussing present obligation. So this should be on which date? On balance sheet date. But now we call it a reporting date. We'll use the term reporting date, not balance sheet date, because Ind AS use the term reporting date, not balance sheet date. Chalega? Correct? But both are same. So obligation which arises on balance sheet date due to past event. But can you say all the past event will not give rise to obligation on balance sheet date? Correct? Means there are maybe some past event which is already settled, So any past event which give rise to obligation on balance sheet date will be known as obligating event. So it means, to for provision we need to first find out whether there is any obligating event on balance sheet date. So all past event are not obligating event. So for this chapter we should consider only obligating event. So what they said, though those which give rise to obligation on balance sheet date, on balance sheet date are obligating event. On balance sheet date are obligating event. Understood this point? Correct. So can I conclude, liabilities are present obligation arising from past event which will be settled through outflow of resource. Resource means either cash or any other asset. Have you understood this point? So can I repeat? Provisions are liabilities of uncertain amount or timing. Liabilities are present obligation arising from past event which will be settled through outflow of resource. Means, can I say outflow of resource must be also probable? Can I say when I am saying which will be settled through outflow of resource, so outflow of resource must be also probable. Probable means the chances of outflow of resource should be more than 50%. So can I say this outflow of resource must be also probable. This point, Any doubt? If you have understood, can I ask my question? First, let me discuss about liability only. I will come to provision after understanding of liability, because to understand provision, first we need to understand what is the meaning of liability. My question to you all, whether debentures are liability? Whether debentures are liability? Bolo. Yes, debentures are liability because debentures are present obligation on balance sheet date arising from past event which will be settled through outflow resource. So debentures are liability, correct? Whether equity share capital is a liability? Whether equity share capital is a liability? Of course, it is not a liability because it will not be settled through outflow resource. So can I say in case of equity share capital, there is no obligation to pay. There is no obligation to pay. Even in case of redemption, there is no obligation to pay. Correct now? Means the repayment will be done. The repayment will be done in case of liquidation only if there is some surplus fund available. So there is no obligation to pay in case of equity share capital. Therefore, equity share capital is not a liability. So can I say we have understood that debentures are liability is meeting the condition of definition. Equity share capital is not a liability. My question to you all, whether redeemable preference share capital is capital or liability, means there are two different terms. Capital liability means when we say a balance sheet, so in balance sheet there are three elements. One is what? Asset. One is capital. One is liability. Correct? And if asset is equal to capital plus liability, that is what accounting equation. This capital is actually known as equity. So the correct term is equity plus liability is equal to asset. Correct. So one thing is clear, that this equity is not a liability. This equity is not a liability. Correct. Understood. My question to you all, whether redeemable preference share capital is equity or liability, because in case of equity there is no obligation to pay. In case of liability there is an obligation to pay, contractual obligation to pay. Correct? Understood. So my question to you all, whether redeemable preference share capital will fall under capital category or liability category. What is your answer? Everyone respond. Have you understood my question? Redeemable preference share capital, whether it will be considered as liability? I have got one answer. No, sir. Correct. It is not a liability. It is not a liability because can I say redeemable preference share capital? There is an obligation to pay. Contractual obligation to pay means it arises due to past event. The obligation arises due to past event which will be settled through outflow resource. So redeemable preference share capital liability. But can I say in CA Inter, whatever format you have done under Schedule 3 of Companies Act, redeemable preference share capital is shown under share capital. That is 100% wrong. Means under Ind AS, the entire format is going to change. Now redeemable preference share capital will not be shown where? In equity, it will be shown under the head liability because there is a contractual obligation to pay. Contractual obligation to pay. I hope you are understanding. Correct now? Means under Schedule 3 of Companies Act Division 1, because of Companies Act, because in that Companies Act used to say कि redeemable preference share capital is a part of capital, and there was no accounting standard on that. There was no accounting standard on what capital. Are you able to understand what I am saying? So because of that reason, in CA Inter syllabus you used to show redeemable preference share capital under the head share capital, but that was 100% wrong. Now redeemable preference share capital being, because there is what contractual obligation to pay, it will be considered as liability, and now from onward we'll call it what? Liability, and it will be shown in the balance sheet under the head liability. Understood this point? Correct? Yes, sir. So if you want to write down one note, you can write down. redeemable preference share capital is a liability. Write down. In this, refer Ind AS 32 for detailed discussion. So we'll have detailed discussion on this when we'll do Ind AS 32, correct? So I'm just giving refer Ind AS 32 because right now it might happen I have just given a small information to you. The detailed information will be given when we'll do Ind AS 32, correct? So have you understood the meaning of provisions? Have you understood the meaning of liabilities? So all liabilities are not provisions. So any liability of uncertain amount or uncertain timing will be considered as what? Provisions. Understood this point? Yes, sir. Correct. Any doubt? Any doubt? Now, now the question is present obligation you understood. Now we need to consider the word obligation. So which type of obligation? Which type of obligation? So Ind AS 37 says कि obligation arising from past event. Obligation arising from past event are of two types. Understood? Means we are discussing all obligation which arises from past event, not due to future event. Correct now? So obligation arising from past event are of two types. First is known as what? Legal obligation, and second is known as constructive obligation. Constructive obligation, a new term in your life, constructive obligation, correct? Now AS 29 was silent regarding constructive obligation, but in AS 37 says कि obligation will also include constructive obligation. What is the meaning of constructive obligation? That we need to understand, correct? So in India's all obligation will be of two type. One is what? Legal obligation, other is what? Constructive obligation. So what is legal obligation? Any obligation which is due to any contract, any contractual obligation, or which is due to any legislation, or which is due to any other obligation of law. Any other obligation of law. For example, under GST Act, we may have an obligation to pay GST to the government after recovering from customer. Correct? So there is no contract. There is no contract between what? Vendor and government. Correct now? So there is no contractual obligation, but there is somewhat legislative obligation. Means any obligation which arises due to law. Understood what I am saying? So any obligation which is due to contract or any legislation or act or any other obligation of law will be known as legal obligation. Correct? Right now we have done one contract. We have also done one contract. Yes. And as per our contract, after 3 class, you need to pay certain amount if you want to continue the class. So can I say, if you want to continue the class, there is an obligation to pay. That is a contractual obligation. That is a contractual obligation. Correct? Understood? Means in any contract there will be what? Obligation for both the party. Means right now we have done one contract that I will teach you and you will pay me certain amount. Means I have an obligation. I have a performance obligation. Correct? Means I will provide services. I will provide services. So there is no outflow of cash from my point of view. Means I am providing services. So there is no liability from my point of view. So liability means outflow of resource, not outflow of services. Correct? But from your point of view, there will be some outflow of cash. So it means there is liability from your point of view, not from my point of view. Understood this point? Yes. So I have some performance obligation. You have somewhat payment obligation. You need to pay certain amount if you want to continue the classes. Understood? Yes, sir. Correct. So obligation arising from past event are of two types. One is known as legal obligation. Legal obligation is due to contract or any legislation or any other obligation of law. So what is constructive obligation? Let me give you some example first. Correct. Now we have done one contract that I will teach you CA finance syllabus. Correct. Once you pay the amount, that is my that is my what obligation to provide you services. Correct? Now during the classes, everyone just try to understand. During the classes, I have made one statement, and the statement is that anyone who score 90 plus marks, 90 or 90 plus marks in CA final financial reporting paper, correct? In the exam conducted by ICI, I will give a reward. I will give a reward in the form of refund of 50% of fee. Understood what I am saying? Means there is no contractual obligation for this, but I have made one statement during the classes कि anyone who score 90 or 90 plus marks in CA final FR paper in the exam conducted by ICI, so I will refund 50% of fees. So can I say there is no contractual obligation? But if anyone who scored 90 or 90 plus marks, once they score, but I have an obligation to refund the 50% fee or not? Yes, yes. So this is what a constructive obligation. Constructive obligation. Understood what I am saying? Correct? Have you understood this point? To what constructive obligation says? Constructive obligation derived from entity's own action. It is derived from entity's own action. I mean, right now I have done one act by giving one statement, and of course, once I have given a statement, if I have given one statement to you, so of course I will refund the amount, because if I will not refund the 50% of fee, correct now, so my goodwill in the market will decrease. Have you understood what I am saying? So can I say, once I have done the statement, you have one valid expectation that you will receive some amount of refund from me, correct? And I am bound to pay you, even though there is no contractual obligation. So it derives from entity's own action. It may be due to past practice. It may be due to past practice. Means even though if I have not announced any statement, but due to my past practice, means in my past batches, I used to reward any student who scored 90 or 90 plus marks. So can I say due to past practice there is a constructive obligation, because you being a student, you came here by inquiring all information about me. So you know the fact that if you score 90 plus marks in CA final FI paper, the teacher will give you 50% refund of the fee. Are you able to understand? So it may be due to past practice or due to published policies. Means even though if I have not done any announcement in the class, but in my website there is one statement given that anyone who score 90 or 90 plus marks, he will be rewarded. So can I say due to published policies? So it is a known fact, and you came here, you joined my batch having a valid expectation that if you score 90 plus marks, you will be getting a refund of what 50% of fee. So whatever statement right now I have given, whatever statement I have announced, that is a valid statement. Means if you also score 90 or 90 plus marks, I'll be giving you what 50% refund of fee as a reward. Correct? Happy? Means you need to score 90, because our target is 90 only. So if you score 90 or 90 plus marks, I'll be giving a 50% refund to you. Happy? Yes, sir. So can I say constructive obligation derived from entity's own action? It may be due to past practice or published policies or any specific statement or announcement, which indicate that entity will accept the responsibility, of course I will accept this responsibility, and create a valid expectation on the part of other party. But by making such announcement, I have created a valid expectation on the mind of my student. Understood? So it means due to such announcement, I have a constructive obligation, and India 37 says you should also create provision for constructive obligation if all the conditions are satisfied. Understood? Have you understood? Yes, sir. Correct. Understood. So can I say obligation arising from past event are of two type: legal obligation, constructive obligation, and we should create provision due to both legal obligation or constructive obligation. Understood? Yes, sir. So can I say AS 29 is silent about constructive obligation. Means AS 29 use the term obligation only. They have not referred constructive obligation. When I say silent, it does not mean AS 29 does not deal with constructive obligation. Correct now? So they have not discussed anything about constructive obligation. Now it depends upon the entity whether they are creating any provision for constructive obligations or not. But Ind AS 37 specifically deals with what constructive obligation. I hope you are understanding. Correct? Have you understood? Any doubt about constructive obligation? Any doubt about constructive obligation? Let me take one more example. Suppose you purchase a mobile. You purchase a mobile of a particular company, and in the website of that company it is written that if you are not satisfied with the mobile, you can, if you are not satisfied with the performance of the mobile, you will be given a claim of 50% of the mobile cost. In the website there is one policies. Correct? Now there is some star mark for that. Of course there will be some condition applied. Now can I say, because the company has published one information in the website, so it create a valid expectation on the part of their customer. So due to that published policy, there may be some constructive obligation for that company. So if there is a constructive obligation and all other conditions are satisfied, then that company should create a provision for that. Understood? Yes, sir. Correct. So have you understood this? So now whenever I say obligation in your mind, two type of obligations should come: legal obligation and constructive obligation. Legal obligation and constructive obligation. Yes, sir. Understood. Now, when to recognize provision? So, recognition of provision, recognition of provision. Now we have understood the meaning. Now, when to recognize provision? I hope you have understood this point, but once again I need to repeat. If all the conditions are satisfied, then provision should be recognized. If all the conditions, all means all the following three conditions are satisfied. First condition, there must be present obligation arising from past event. So, which obligation? This obligation can be now either legal or constructive, so there must be present obligation arising from past event. Outflow of resource which is required to settle the obligation is also probable. Means outflow should be also probable. When I say probable, probable means chances of occurrence is more than what, 50%. So it should be also 50%, more than 50%. So there must be present obligation. There must be present obligation arising from past event. An outflow of resource which is required to settle the obligation is also probable, and a reliable estimation can be made for the amount or timing of the obligation. If the amount is not known, so it can be estimated. If the timing is not known, so it can be estimated. So a reliable estimation can be made for the amount or timing of the obligation. If all these three conditions satisfied, then we recognize provision. Correct. Of course, I think you have understood that if the estimation cannot be done, reliable estimation cannot be done, so how can we pass a journal entry? So for recognition of provision, it means we need to pass one journal entry. For that, one amount is required. So that amount should be reliable estimation. So how will make estimation? Of course, that will be also discussed, but not now. Correct. Understood? So when I say reliable estimation, so of course there is some measurement guidelines under Ind AS 37 that will be discussed in the later part. So what are the three conditions? What is the first condition? There must be present obligation arising from past event. There must be present obligation arising from past event. outflow of resource which is required to settle the obligation is also probable. Outflow of resource which is required to settle the obligation is also probable, and a reliable estimation can be made for the amount or timing of the obligation. Understood? Have you understood this point? Have you understood? I'll give one example. You might have the doubt. Sir, give me one example where amount is known but the timing is not known. Understood? I'll give one very good example so that you can understand. Yes, sir. Now, means amount is known but the amount when it need to be paid, that is not known. Correct? Now, you all know that under Income Tax Act, we do self assessment. Self assessment. Correct. Under self assessment, we calculate tax. Correct now? Understood? So it means amount is known. Amount is known. Correct? But can I say, of course, it need to be paid as per Income Tax Act. But can I say for that an assessment will be done? Assessment is required by assessing officer, which may be delayed due to some reason. Which may be delayed. Correct now? Which may be delayed. Are you able to understand? Means timing is uncertain right now, which may be delayed. Means even though amount is known, timing is not known, and therefore we recognize provision for tax. We say provision for tax. Understood? So provision for tax is also a liability of uncertain timing. Can I say in this way? Uncertain timing? Yes, sir. However, this provision for tax is not covered under Ind AS 37. It will be covered under Ind AS 12. Ind AS 12. It is specifically excluded from the scope of Ind AS 37. Correct now? It will be covered under Ind AS 12. Understood this point? I have just given one example. So both are uncertain, or either amount is uncertain or timing is uncertain. Have you understood this point? Bolo. Recognition of provision? Yes, sir. Now, I'll take some example. You need to answer me whether provisions should be created or not. Now, there are three conditions. There must be present obligation arising from past event. There must be present obligation arising from past event. Outflow of resource which is required to settle the obligation is probable. When I say present obligation, so present obligation means obligation is probable. When I say obligation is probable, it means, can I say this obligation is dependent upon future event? So it means occurrence of future event, the chances of occurrence is more than 50%. Correct? So it means there must be present obligation. There must be obligation should be also probable, and outflow of resource must be also probable. Means even though obligation is probable, but if the outflow of resource is not probable, then we will not recognize provision. Have you understood this point? Means all the three conditions need to be satisfied. All the three conditions need to be satisfied. Yes, sir. Correct. Let me take one example. You will understand. Example. Means I am just taking example which I used to take in CA Inter. Means I am not taking the what advanced level of example right now. Correct? Yes, sir. You might be knowing the answer of this because you have done similar example in CA Inter, even though you have taken classes from some other faculty. Yes, sir. Now, suppose I am running one factory. Means there is one company, ABC Limited, and there is one factory, and this factory is polluting the environment. Correct? And government has given one notice to fit smoke filter, has given one notice to fit one smoke filter to reduce pollution. Are you getting what I am saying? Understood? And correct. So notice to fit smoke filter has been received from government, and they need to fit smoke filter within 6 months. Within 6 months. Correct. Now notice was received on 1st Feb 2020. 1st Feb 2020. Understood? Correct. Now on 31st March 2020, 2020 till now, smoke filter is not fitted. Correct? Understood? And of course, if they will fit smoke filter, there will be some outflow resource arising from past event. Means there is a present obligation arising from past event on balance sheet date. Means first condition is satisfied. First condition is satisfied. Correct? Correct. But can I say they can avoid this expenditure? Correct. Means this can be avoided by changing the entire production process. Entire production process. This can be avoided by changing the entire production process. And on 31st March till now management has not decided what need to be done. Are you able to understand what I am saying? Means now management has two options, either to fit smoke filter or change the entire production process. When they will change the entire production process, so automatically there will be no pollution in the environment. So they have two options, either to fit smoke filter or to change the entire production process. The question is that on 31st March 2020, of course there is a present obligation, arising from past event. The question is that should we recognize provision? Whenever question is silent about the amount, always will assume that reliable estimation can be made. So if the question has not given the amount, of course we need to assume that reliable estimation can be made. Otherwise, so if the amount is not given, we'll always assume amount cannot be estimated and the provision will not be recognized. No, no, no. Correct? Means you need to focus in first and second condition. If the amount is not given, then also we'll assume yes, amount can be estimated. For example, in this example, I have not given the amount of expenditure. So it is understood fact that it can be estimated. Reliably, it can be estimated. My question is that the first condition is satisfied. Should we recognize provision? Badao. Should we recognize provision? Everyone. I already said you need to give answer in your mind. So that's why I am silent for few seconds so that you can frame your answer. One answer I got, no sir, we should check all the three conditions. Yes sir. So can I say first condition is satisfied and third condition is also satisfied. Reliable estimation can be made. This will be assumed from examination point of view. So this condition satisfied, this condition satisfied. But can I say outflow of resource is not probable? Why outflow of resource is not probable? Because can I say the expenditure can be avoided due to changes in the production process. So if we change the production process, can I say the entire expenditure can be avoided, therefore outflow of resource is not probable. Therefore, can I say provision should not be recognized? So can I say outflow of resource outflow of resource is not probable, is not probable. Correct? It means why it is not probable? Because can I say it is dependent, it is dependent on future conduct of business. Future conduct of business. Future conduct of business. So whenever any obligation which is dependent on future conduct of business, then we will not recognize provision. Are you getting? So what Ind AS 37 says, if the obligations are independent, if the obligations are independent from the future conduct of business, the such obligations should be recognized. Correct now? So if it is exists independently from future conduct of business, then such obligations should be recognized. So what Ind AS 37 says, everyone, what Ind AS 37 says, only those obligations which exist independently from entities future conduct of business should be recognized. So in our example, whatever I have done, so can I say the obligation means outflow of resources is dependent upon future conduct of business, therefore such obligations should not be recognized. Means what this is, in other words, obligations which are dependent on future conduct of business should not be recognized as provision because outflow of resource is not probable. However, it can be disclosed as contingent liability. So, however, it can be disclosed as contingent liability. Now, when to disclose as contingent liability, that point is pending. It may be disclosed as contingent liability. Have you understood this point? Bolo. Let me take one more example. One more example for which we have done in IPCC. One more example. Correct. Suppose Indigo Airlines has purchased one aeroplane. Correct. Understood? Now, as per Aviation Act, means National Aviation Act, as per Aviation Act, any aeroplane which is used for public transportation, any aeroplane which is used for public transportation, the company need to incur rehauling expenditure after every 3 years. Correct? To avoid major accident. So as per National Aviation Act, what they say is if you are using any aeroplane for public transportation purpose, it need to be rehaul, means it need to be maintained. Major inspection need to be done. Major inspection means a huge amount of expenditure will be done for such inspection. Correct now? Because each and every part of such aeroplane will be checked. So we call it major inspection, not routine repair and maintenance. It is major inspection after every 3 years. So which will result in what? An expenditure, which will result in an expenditure of suppose 10 crore after every 3 years. Have you understood this point? So can I say once the company has purchased aeroplane, there is a legal obligation. There is a legal obligation of such rehauling expenditure after 3 years. Question is that should we recognize provision? Should we recognize provision? Yes or no? Everyone. Have you understood the question? I think you might realize the same example you have done in CA Inter, and such type of question have been asked in CA Inter exam also. So what is the answer? Should we recognize provision? One answer I got, not required. Very good. But you need to give me reason also. You are saying not required. This is not correct answer. You need to give best answer. Why? So can I say once again, provision is not recognized. Provision is not required as obligation is dependent on future conduct of business. Future conduct of obligation is dependent on future conduct of what? Business. Correct? Means outflow resource is not probable. So why it is dependent on future conduct of business? Why? Because can I say after 3 years, yeah, can I say before 3 years, such aeroplane may be discarded or it can be sold. So it depends upon whether the rehauling expenditure will be incurred or it will not be incurred. Depend upon the conduct of business, future conduct of business. Means it might happen once the 3 year is over, the management may decide to sell it. So once they have decided to sell it, the question of expenditure for rehauling expense will not arise. Will not arise. Understood? Yes, sir. So can I say no provision is required? No provision is required. I hope you have understood this point. Now Have you understood this point? Everyone. Any doubt? Please write down if you are asking a doubt, please write it clearly so that I can understand your emotions. Once again, I will explain this example. In this example, just try to understand. We purchase one aeroplane, and due to National Aviation Act, there is a legal obligation to do rehauling expenditure after 3 years of use. So of course there is a present obligation arising from past event. But it might happen before 3 years or on expiry of 3 years, management may decide to sell it. So can I say re-hauling expenditure will be required only when we are using after 3 years now. So it might be means management might decide to discard such aeroplane. So if they have discarded such aeroplane or they have decided to dispose it off, so there is no question of any expenditure for re-hauling. Agreeing. So can I say the expenditure means obligation is dependent on future conduct of business. So what Ind AS 37 says, only those obligations which exist independently of entities future conduct of business should be recognized. Means any obligation which are dependent of future conduct of business should not be recognized. Should not be recognized. I hope now you have understood. Bol. Have you understood? Now, let me take one more example. A different example. Correct. Now, suppose there is one company, ABC Limited, and they are event into event organization. Okay? Now they organize one trade fair, correct? Which is open to all public, open to all, correct? Which is open to all. Now, everyone just try to understand. Suppose this is one event organized, but what happened because it was open to all, it become overcrowded, it become overcrowded, and due to some mismanagement, some accident occur, and due to such accident many people got injured and many people died also, correct? And therefore a case was filed a case was filed against ABC Limited, correct? Understood? And as per current situation, it is a known fact that case will be decided against ABC Limited. Means till now judgment has not yet came. Means the case is still pending on 31st March. But as per the information exists, the case will be decided against ABC Limited, and if it is decided against ABC Limited, they need to pay compensation. They need to pay compensation of rupees 1 lakh to all injured people, and a compensation of 2 lakh, let us assume, to the relative, yeah, to the norm, to the legal heir of deceased person. Understood this point? Correct? Understood? Means can I say there is a present obligation arising from past event? And can I say outflow resource is also probable and reliable estimation can be made? Means all the three conditions satisfied. All the three conditions satisfied, because in this case I already said there is a higher chance that case will be decided against what? ABC Limited as per the information prevailing on that particular date. Are you able to understand? So all the three conditions satisfied. All the three conditions satisfied. But what ABC Limited said, ki of course the compensation is payable. But right now on 31st March, we don't know the identity. We don't know the identity means we don't know to whom we need to pay. Are you getting what I am saying? Have you understood? Means the fact will be known, means the identity of diseased person or injured person will be known only after what? Once the case is decided. It means right now they don't know the identity of the injured or diseased person. Therefore, because they don't know the identity of diseased person, identity of injured person, they said will not create a provision. Whether this is correct, what do you say? Everyone.